Hello, and welcome to the Eleemosynary Moment. My name is Aaron Spears.
And I'm Brad Hathcock. Welcome back, everyone.
Hi, Brad. You were on vacation, and I did not do a solo episode. Therefore, we have come back to our podcast once again.
Once again, we are back.
I think we have decided to do a lighter episode. Um, we're not going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about some things we enjoyed. Our end of year movie episode is still going to come out. We're still going to do that. We'll talk about our like top 15 plus,
100%.
notables.
That's going to be
Yeah.
our first podcast of the new year, as was, I believe, our first podcast this year, correct? I think it was.
Yes, and also it was so funny cuz like I had to see The Whale in theaters before I could do that podcast, and I don't think The Whale even made my list. But there's a few movies that I think are not going to be able to make the cut for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, man. I mean, there was a whole slew of movies that like just hit Amazon Prime. And like Thanksgiving, I watched today. I watched Silent Night today. So like all this stuff hit Amazon Prime all at once, for $25 to purchase and $20 to rent and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like, those are steep prices, I guess. I mean, if you buy it, it's one thing. Renting it for $20 kind of sucks. But then you might have to wait for a couple of weeks for it to show up on like a different streaming service. And it's kind of a shame that all this stuff really hit at the end of the year because there's some good things that probably won't make the cut, like you were saying. It's just too late in the year to really, throw that shit on the list, or to give it a really good, um, like a good rundown, a good viewing, because you know how I do. I kind of watch things in parts, because I can't always focus 100% on the movie, so I kind of move it, and like watch it over a span of a couple of days or something like that. But um, I guess the positive part of that is it gives me a little bit of time to like reflect on what I'm watching and like think about the storylines a little bit more, assuming I do that. Not everybody does, and I don't always. It depends on the movie, really.
Well, there's two, like, specifically I'm thinking of. One is The Holdovers with Paul Giamatti, and the other is Priscilla. And unfortunately, I think Priscilla is like $30 to buy on Amazon just to stream it. And I'm like, I can't do
Oh,
that. I'm
really?
sorry. Yeah, it's just too
That's
much. So
shocking because
it's
I
a
thought that was
lot.
supposed to come out on HBO
I
or
don't know.
something.
There's a
Maybe
weird thing
maybe
going
Apple,
on. Like
maybe Apple
Killers of the
TV.
Flower Moon is frustrating too, because like it's an Apple movie, and they're like, it's on Apple now, and I'm like, okay, good,
Right.
I'll watch it. I'm subscribed, and it's like, no, no, to buy. I'm like,
So that's one of the ones where in a couple of weeks or like 2 months, it's going to be up there for free to watch.
yeah, and it
So
sucks. Yeah,
it's hard, like, because I really want to watch that movie. You watched it. I believe you watched it, and um, you know, you don't need to give me a review here, but like that was a big movie for this year for Leonardo DiCaprio, obviously, who is I think one of the greats. So like I was really interested to watch that movie, but I'm kind of like indifferent about paying $20 to rent it or whatever when I know it'll be there in a couple of weeks for free.
it's something we're just gonna have to accept. I think, which is fine. We can accept it. That
Do
we're
you,
just gonna
do you think
have
some
these
of these
movies.
releases, like these digital releases, got pushed back a little bit due to the strike and everything that happened this year?
I think
Do you
they
think they
got
would have gotten out a little bit sooner?
no. I think this is part of the new strategy for a lot of these studios. Is they release a movie in theaters and then they put it on VOD, and they're actually making good profits off of the VOD releases.
Because I gotta say, I've been putting together my list for 2024, because I'm basically stuck on this journey forever now of watching as much
Mm-hmm.
like shit as I can.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um,
Yeah.
and dude, even just January it has like 30 movies that's like on the list. I mean,
Well, I
and
know
now
all that Spider-Man shit got pushed back, but for me, I'm like looking at Dune. Like that's the big one that got pushed for
right,
me.
that was on the 2023 list, and then obviously got moved over to the 2024 list based off of just
The strike.
the movie getting pushed back and everything.
Mm.
But yeah, there's like, I don't know, 30 or so movies that are just in January of 2024. I mean, my list is pretty huge so far. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 in February, though. Let's fucking go.
I have about 25 movies on my list of what I enjoyed in 2023. And almost half of them are just movies I had no idea going in would be special.
No, not
So,
at all. I mean, dude, there's so much material that comes out. Like it's really hard to truly identify what's going to be good or bad. Like when I watched Skinamarink this year, it was a $15,000 movie, and it made, I don't know, like $400,000 box office. Like that's nothing. But for an experimental horror movie, not a lot happens. It was basically shot very, like 90s hand cam situation. You know, it's a tough watch for most people. I enjoyed it. It's not going to be on my top 15 for sure, but I enjoyed it, and it takes a special kind of person to watch that kind of movie. But that's such a
I can tell
small time
you,
film, dude. Like,
I'll give you a free preview of my list. It will make my top 15. That movie was really something else.
Skinamarink?
Yeah, yeah. You
Really?
know what?
I didn't
Yeah,
even know
I
you watched
watched.
it.
I did. Yeah, I tried. I'm trying not to tell you everything I watched because I do want you to
Sure,
be
yeah, that's
surprised.
what I mean. We want to keep those lists separate. Like,
Yeah,
I enjoyed that last year. We had such vastly different lists for sure.
yeah, it was
Um,
fun. But Skinamarink, man, I watched it and then I thought God, I must have thought about that movie for like 3 or 4 days after, just trying to think about how it made me feel, and then I realized at that point that it it had an effect on me that I didn't expect I was gonna have, and I
I'm shocked.
just
I'm shocked by that. Save that because we'll talk about it.
okay.
I didn't know you even watched that movie. I don't recall talking about it with you. So
I never brought it up to you, yeah.
I really want to talk to you about that.
I
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that I intentionally didn't mention to you. There's some stuff that I mentioned to you because I thought you should watch it. Like Thanksgiving, I was like, you don't let that one slip by you. Um, just because that one was fucking awesome. But you know, yeah, I'm excited to have that conversation with you about some of these movies because there's stuff on here that I think you're gonna be surprised by. Um, we're gonna have some overlap, I know that, but
oh, of course, we always do.
yeah.
As much as Aaron and I fight, um, in front of everybody here, um, we do actually agree on a lot of things, even movies. He talks a lot of shit on me because I won't watch anything that was made in 1920 because I don't give a
Or
shit,
animated.
or I don't really care for animated stuff that often. Um, so we argue about this shit constantly, but
It's
we
petty,
actually
but
do have very similar tastes in movies. So
well, the one good thing about our taste in movies is that if it's a bad dog shit movie, we both liked it. It's
right.
okay. Like, cause there's some like I wouldn't say like Terrifier 2 is like high art, but it sure is a fucking fun watch.
That's high art to me.
Oh,
What's more fun than watching a movie where the director had so much fun making it? Like that's a fun movie. So much so that like the director, especially because the Terrifier 2 made so much money box office, like
so much.
and it was only made for like 250 grand, and it made millions of dollars. So he was approached for the third one by a lot of big studios, and they were like, "Well, your opening scene's pretty graphic. Like, we should dial that down." And he was like, "Nah, fuck off." So he made it himself. He,
I
I
love it.
I respect that. That is art to me because you are not letting somebody influence what you're doing. You are just pushing through and you're going to do it on your own because you know you can. And when the third one is, you know, does well again, then they're going to come back to you even further and give you more leeway in your films. So I say bravo.
Well, speaking of fuck you, I have a list of bad movies and I have a list of my top video games of the year. Would you like to do the top video games first? I'll get that out of the way and then move on to the worst movies we saw, because some of them I'll probably mention and then you could kind of riff off of them.
Yeah, we can switch it up and go to video games and then back to movies. It's fine.
So I spent 54 days this year playing video games.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised by. I didn't expect that number.
So Aaron shared out his statistics of video game playing, and it was like 1,311 hours, and that was this not even the end of the year. So it was a little over 1,300 hours, I think. And I actually calculated the math on the number of days that was, and it was like 54 days. I was like, how the fuck could you play video games that frequently?
Well, I didn't think I did that frequently either. I'm like, I'm a normal person. But
Where'd you even get the stats from? Is that like
it comes from Xbox.
okay, so that was 15 or 1,300 hours just on Xbox.
So
But we all know
unfortunately,
you play like everything else.
I do play on the Switch and I do play on the PlayStation and I do play on the VR headset and I do play on the PC. So that number is probably higher and I'm not proud of that, but you're on my top 10
You
games of
should
the
be.
year.
You should be.
Ah,
Like if that's your thing, I mean, I guess you should be. But for those of you listening, Aaron is supposed to be the producer of this podcast, and he doesn't produce shit. And I told him if he spent half the time that he spends playing video games on learning to be a producer, this would be a top 10 podcast, probably in the greater California area.
by the way, I want to mention that I also said that I do produce a really good podcast and that he's wrong about this. But
It's not
just
this
shut
one.
You can shut the fuck up for 2 seconds and let me get through my top 10 games of the year. Comment on any of these if you want to. My number one was the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Didn't play that one, but I am interested because I did have the 1 and 2 remakes for PlayStation. I believe I might still have them, but I don't really play my PS3, so PS4? PS4? Yeah, PS4. I don't play my PS4 really, so I think I have them, but are they also for Xbox?
Yes, every Resident Evil is on Xbox.
No, then I might have to get them.
Except for the VR. The VR ones are on only PlayStation 5.
Interesting.
Resident Evil 4 is probably it would be in my top 10 games of all time list regardless. So
Was that Code Veronica
no.
originally? No.
No, Code Veronica was like a between 4 and 5 kind of deal. 4 is an incredible game in its own right, and then the remake you remade one of the greatest games ever made. So what more can I say? But
I gotta say, I think when Resident Evil 4 came out, I probably wasn't playing video games that much.
You wouldn't have even
So
played
I
it.
don't know that I ever played it.
So one odd thing about Resident Evil 4 is it came out on the GameCube.
Oh
And
yeah, then I never played that.
yeah, you would have never been
I
able to
never
play
had a
it. So
GameCube.
yeah, so oddly enough, and it was a very strange thing at the time, and I played it. I got it the day it came out, and I was like, this is like, it was such a game changer for me, much like the next game I'm going to mention. But it changed everything about video games. That's how unique it was, and it was scary, and it was funny, and it was cool. And the remake just adds, all it does is add like cool shit to it, like, oh, go kill like 6 rats and you'll get like a little prize. But then it's like, oh, back to the horror, and it's like, oh my god, everything's crazy. And it's also just a gorgeous game. Number 2 being the other game, Dead Space remake, which Dead Space, I think when it came out, I thought it was amazing, and then to replay it now as a remake, I realized that it's also one of the great games ever made. It's a flawless masterpiece.
It truly, truly is. I did play it. I will say, however, I have not beaten it. I just got away from playing video games for too long, and then I just kind of left it. I was stuck because I refused to lower the difficulty level. So I think I'm like right there at the end though, like one of the last bosses or something, and it's just a pain in the dick. So I have to go back and finish that for sure. But you're right. I I thought that even when it originally came out for Xbox, that it was one of the greatest games I had ever played. It was very like genre bending for that time when the original came out. You know, having to shoot the limbs off of stuff as opposed to just blasting things, and where they pretty much keep coming at you. Which, believe it or not, in the remake of Resident Evil 1, I think it was, you basically weren't supposed to shoot the zombies in the head anymore. It was basically shoot them in the legs and run around them. Was kind
Mm.
of like the strategy. So, a little bit of strategy there from Dead Space. But I think you're right. It was definitely one of the best games this year for sure.
And the just the visuals, like I watched the side by side with the old game because the old game was a real nice looker back in the day.
So,
And
when Dead Space came out, I was refusing to buy the game until I got a better TV to play it on. Okay. I was using like a 55-inch, like 720 TV that I bought literally 12 years ago, and I refused to buy shit until it dies. So I was refusing to even buy the game because I didn't have a good TV to play it on. And then my wife convinced me to buy a new TV. So
no,
the game was on sale for like $27, and so I was like, I'm just gonna buy it because that's the cheapest it's probably ever gonna get, unless it hits like Game Pass or something. But she was like, just buy the TV. Like, you want a new TV. Yours is like super old. She was like, just buy the TV. So
just
I
do it.
did.
Well, it's a hell of a game. That's all I'll say. My number three was Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is on the PlayStation VR 2. This game isn't like the greatest game of the year. What makes it number three on my list is that it's the showcase for the PlayStation VR 2 headset, and it's the best VR headset I've ever used. So playing it, it's just very impressive as like a technical feat. It's not like the greatest story ever, and it's like the combat's great ever, but it's just it works really well. If you don't play VR, you don't know when VR is bad. There's like good VR is like I in this game I can like you like grab onto stuff and you're swinging your axe to hit to like hook into shit, and you're solving puzzles and you can pick up stuff and like throw the cup and the wheel and whatever. And if it's a bad VR game, then you try to grab something and it's a little off, it's a little wonky. They're still fun games, but Call of the Mountain was like technically flawless in VR, and that's really hard to nail. And so yeah, that's why it made my list. It's
Well,
just really fucking cool.
remember when Xbox released that like VR strip kind of thing where you could like
Connect.
play, yeah, the Xbox Connect, and there was like a zombie game on there where to like walk forward you had to like do this, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like, I mean, it's obviously gotten way better with Meta releasing like the Quest and all the different VR technology coming out now. So uh, I can only imagine it is getting so much better even like now.
Well,
Don't they do they release a new one of those like every year?
yeah, I actually the Quest 3 just came out about a month ago. I've got it right here with me. And then the PlayStation VR 2 came out in January or February. Prohibitively expensive. It costs more than the PlayStation 5. So it's not like it's not for everybody.
And I wonder how much better it actually gets year to year.
Uh every single one has been like a new feat. Like the VR2 headset, best headset I've ever used. The Quest 3 like twice as good as the last one. So
Really?
yeah, yeah. What it really comes down to is like, okay, it's weight and it's the display. Now with the VR2 headset, it plugs into the PlayStation 5, so your PlayStation's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. The Quest 3, on the other hand, is wireless, so it's got everything it's doing inside of it. So it's not going to look as good visually, but you don't have the wire. There's just trade-offs with every VR headset.
Sure.
That said, though, that Horizon game, like, it looks stunningly gorgeous, and you can walk up to stuff, and it doesn't have it has like a clean frame rate. And anyway, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but it was good. Number 4, Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. There's not much I could say more than has already been said. It's just most people's game of the year. It's not mine because partly because it reuses the same game world from Breath of the Wild, but then it adds a sky and an underworld. So you've got the existing world from the first game, but then they added it's like three worlds instead of one. And you can like create vehicles to travel between the sky islands and underground, and there's just weird shit underground. It's an odd game to describe.
So it basically could have been a DLC.
No,
as opposed to a separate game.
That's why I'm not being very fair to it. They took the existing world and they changed some things. The map is still pretty similar, but it's a whole new game. It really is. It's just you'd have to play it to know just what. I don't know. It's just kind of a crazy game. Alan Wake 2 is my number 5. You're about to finish that one.
Yeah, I'm right
Great
on the
game.
cusp. I'm
Great
right on the
fucking
cusp.
game.
I mean, I loved the first one. Even the
Me
little
too.
like mini game that they released on Xbox, the
American
Nightmare,
Yeah.
which was just basically not turn based, but like horde kind of similar. You have to wipe out all the enemies and stuff and run around through the dark places and get ammo and whatnot. And what a phenomenal game Alan Wake 2 has been so far. And I know you said it's kind of set up for a third one, which I'm cool with, as long as it doesn't take another 12 or 13 years to come out with. Like, great. But
Well, unfortunately, the second game hasn't sold very well, it appears.
That's
And
sad.
part of that, it is sad.
It's
and part of the
a
reason
truly incredible game.
it really is, like, yeah, not only is it sad, it didn't come out on physical, and I think that caused part of the sales decline.
See, I didn't know that. Thing about Alan Wake, and I feel like this goes kind of unnoticed, is the battle system in it. Like, you have to get really adept at dodging stuff because you need to be able to get out of the way and shine your light on stuff. And there are guys that they added different kinds of enemies into this one where they split into two, or they move really fast, so it's hard to shoot them. And they actually have ranged attacks. I don't even remember if they had ranged attacks in the first one, where they're like chucking axes at you and shit. So like you have to be pretty adept at dodging stuff. And I got good at that in Alan Wake 1, and then I kind of forgot about that in Alan Wake 2, and I started to get good at it. And once I know you said you lowered the difficulty level because you were just kind of getting beat up.
Yeah.
And I feel like you and I have kind of had different approaches to that game. I have not lowered my difficulty level, and I've put myself into very tight spots because I didn't know what was coming. So I would like not have the right guns I wanted, or the ammo that I needed, or something like that. And like you said, you didn't really use, like, say, the flares or the flashbangs and stuff, and I used them quite a bit actually. And just being able to dodge and get the fuck out of there as much as possible. Like, that game in certain parts is very much about fleeing, especially if you don't have the ammo.
Yeah, that's a huge strategy.
And where you and I ended up differing quite a bit is like through the main character storyline saga. I went and got like those charms. Like, I started finding those charms for completing
never
like
did
the
one.
nursery rhyme thing. And dude, that's to your detriment, because now I'm like never without ammo because those charms just you can get one that doubles like the amount of ammo and stuff that you find basically. So I'm like never without ammo. So my approach could change a little bit because I could stand in and actually like kill enemies more frequently than having to run. And so in my opinion, when I go through and do say New Game Plus and do like the second playthrough on, because they just came
Yep.
out with the DLC for it. They added the Nightmare difficulty level. As long as I have those charms and stuff, my Nightmare difficulty shouldn't be too bad.
Um, I also will just mention that it's probably one of the best, like, graphically appeasing or appealing games ever made too.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean,
It's a beautiful
they
game.
mixed like video game in with real world video and
Which
acting
should never
in the
work. It should
cutscenes.
never work, and it's
No,
so good.
they do such a killer job of it. Like it's unbelievable. Um, Obviously the acting generally leaves something to be desired, but video
Oh,
games
that's
have
part of
never
the charm.
been accused of good acting. But I agree with you. It is part of the charm. I mean, you never get the best acting for a video game. Like they would kind
I
of
think that I think they know that because
they do.
they know that their accents come through sometimes when they have the English accent on. Some of the characters are like intentionally like they're like these two redneck guys from Wisconsin, and they sound like like they're from another country. They have heavy accents, and they're just like, "Oh, hello, we burned the forge to get to the," and it's all part of the package, you know. It's just it's a very unique, special game. Um, anyway, the next five probably aren't anything you would be interested in or have played. Number 6, Super Mario Wonder, just a super cool 2D Mario game that just has weird shit in it. Every Nintendo just makes weird shit in their games now, and this is like oh, we're gonna have a level and then you're gonna just like go on a drug induced like twisted weird area for like half the stage because you pick up these like things and then they transform the level and like all the colors change and everything you're doing is like really trippy and weird, and it's just fucking cool game. Number 7, RoboCop Rogue City. I love RoboCop. There's never been a better RoboCop game. This
I
game
wanted to
makes you
play that. I
it
kind of
makes
wanted
you
to play that.
feel like RoboCop. It has the music, it has the old cars, the police station is gritty. There's like side quests where you're like, "Hey, RoboCop, will you like work the desk for me while I step away?" And so you're like at the desk and you're like, handling people's like petty complaints, and you don't run fast. You don't have ammo, right? You're just like you have infinite ammo rather because RoboCop is a fucking robot cop in a movie, and it just does all that. It just does it all. It's not like the best game ever made, but it's a fucking RoboCop game, and
I
I
heard it's
love
kind of
RoboCop.
clunky, but I mean,
It
again,
has to be, but that is all
RoboCop.
part of it.
RoboCop is
Yeah,
very clunky,
you're absolutely, yeah.
and then they
It's a clunky
remade
game.
RoboCop, and he was like super athletic, and it just didn't really make sense.
Not my
But
RoboCop.
I've also heard that that RoboCop game is pretty violent, which people
Oh
fucking
yeah,
forget. Like the original RoboCop movie was super violent,
hell yeah.
and like people kind of forget about that. Like the violence in that movie was huge. People getting blown away with shotguns like left and right and shit. I mean, what a good classic film.
And the satire, which is all here. Like part of the charm of RoboCop was the satire because they were like, "Oh, the giant robot kills a guy in the room or whatever," and they're like, "Wow, we got to work on that." Like they don't even acknowledge that like some guy in the room got killed, and like that
Right.
kind of stuff is entirely present in the game. And the original actor returns for the role,
No
so
kidding. Oh,
yeah,
that's
he's in it
awesome.
too.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
So and it's not a modern game. It's like it takes place in the 80s. The cars are all 80s cars. The everything you go to is like an 80s themed area.
That's great.
Uh ah, it just made me happy. Number 8 is Forza Motorsport. I don't know why you shit on that one earlier in the week. We were talking about it, but
I
It's
didn't
the best.
shit on Forza. I don't play racing video games.
I know,
I
but you
wouldn't
said
have.
it was Garbo tier. I was like, what do you mean?
That wasn't me. I never said that to you. Why? I've never played it. I would never play it because it's a racing game. I might have said all racing games are trash, but that's true. Racing games are fucking boring. Unless you're playing Mario Kart, uh, quite
Which is actually
honestly,
boring.
other racing games are just boring.
When you're as good as I am at Mario Kart, it's actually boring to play it because you're just winning every time.
That's yet to be seen. We haven't played
For
against each other.
Forza Motorsport is Gran Turismo 7 came out last year. Forza Motorsport isn't, I think, as good as Gran Turismo 7. That said, it is the best that Forza has ever looked and been. So like they added new tracks, the weather systems are different, the time changes are different. This shit you don't care about, but
You know,
racing games.
I'm also gonna push back on you here because I've never used the terms Garbo tier for anything. I never even would have put those words together in my vocabulary.
Maybe it was Adam.
It was definitely Adam. It was not me
That
because
makes it even more puzzling because
because he loves
he
cars. I
liked
know.
it. Yeah.
But he just likes to shit on you. Doesn't matter if he's shitting on something he also likes. His main goal is to shit on you. So
I know my role in the world. Um let's go off the rails. The number 9, the making of Karateka. Karateka is an old arcade game. Um it's not that makes the game on my list. What it is it's like Atari 50 was last year. They got Mechner, the guy who made the game, they got all of his old notes and paperwork and letters he wrote from like it was like 82 or something. He was trying to get video games published. And he was a really good programmer on Apple II, and he kept all that shit. And so it's all in there, scanned high res, so you could go and read the letters he was trying to write. You could play the beta versions of the different games he was trying to develop as a kid because he was doing this in college. He was like 19 or 20 when he was doing this, and so you could go play version 3 of the blah blah blah, and it was on a floppy disk, and you could look at the floppy disk in high res. And there's videos of interviews with him and his dad was like really supportive of him making the video games. And his dad even wrote the music for for Karateka. Karateka is like what he's known for. It was like a kung fu game on like a computer, and it's just they take a game and they make it like an interactive history piece where you can like get in there and just learn about it.
yeah, you tried
And
to tell me about a video game like that before and you got shit on for it. So,
well, Atari 50 was a lot like this, you know. It was like the history of Atari, but you get to like not only do you learn about Atari, you get to play the shit. And it was like they're doing this now for a lot of different games. So this is kind of their new like focus, which is like we're gonna take an old game and we're gonna make it like an interactive documentary where you can learn about it. And it's really cool to go back and look at all that old technology because this guy was just he's just drawing sprites on like graph paper and stuff. I mean, that's the level we're talking about here. Number 10, Metroid Prime Remastered. Metroid Prime is if I had a top 10 of all time, it would be on that list along with Resident Evil 4. And it's just nice to have it remastered on the Switch.
yeah, I remember playing Metroid Prime. That was on Nintendo, Super
That was on
Nintendo,
the
right?
game. No, Super Metroid was on the Super Nintendo. That was the second game in the series. There's been Metroid Prime was on the GameCube. Metroid Prime 2 was on the GameCube. Metroid Prime 3 was on the Wii. And then there was another Wii game called Metroid Other M. And then they just came out with a 2D Metroid, which is like Metroid 5. It's the fifth game, and that was on the Switch as well.
Switch, yeah, I was gonna say they definitely had one on the Switch.
But this is just a remaster of a great game, and it looks beautiful. And the Switch is like Garbo tier hardware at this point, and it looks amazing on it anyway. I have other notable games, just Jedi Survivor, good game, Street Fighter 6, and Mortal Kombat 1. I love both series. I'm usually pretty good at both series, and they've radically changed the combat in both of them, and I am not as good anymore at them because of that, and so I don't really love them anymore. But they're good games. Diablo 4, solid. Baldur's Gate 3, still working on it, but solid. And then Starfield. Look, I know I'm not like the biggest fan of Starfield, but
Dude, you
I did.
talked so much shit this year about Starfield.
You're right.
You
You're right.
you were sucked into it. You played the fuck out of it. So did I. And as soon as my game got corrupted and lost like 20 plus hours of gameplay, that game became dog shit to me. Like, because you fix your shit. It's always been my problem, really, with anything that they fucking release. Like, even,
Bethesda.
yeah, like, they just make clunky games. They do. I mean, all of the Fallout series is clunky too. Okay, like I ran into the same issue with Fallout New Vegas. Corrupted file basically totally fucked me over. Um, it's fine. Like they're trying to fix these things, but come the fuck on. Like,
Well, if you made an argument for this game in those terms, it was the most not broken of any of their games ever when it came out, but it still was
that's
broken.
broken as fuck. Like, how do I get stuck on a planet that I never even visited, and I'm just falling out of the sky and into a tree and dead?
Because
Like,
you don't make more than one save.
infinitely. No, but
Um,
I did make other saves, and all of my files were corrupted because I knew to make more saves because of the issues I had with fucking Fallout New Vegas.
Brad, the listeners don't care about that. They don't care. They don't want to hear about this. They want to hear what I have to think
The
about it.
listeners don't want to hear what you have to think about a game that you've been trashing all fucking year long, but it
Hey,
still ends up as one of your honorable mentions.
it's an honorable mention because there was a quest line where I played like a dirtbag corpo guy and I was just manipulating people, and I thought that was really cool. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. I was not a good person in this game, and it was enjoyable from that
But
sense.
that's what's great about those games is you should never be a good person in those games ever.
No, you can be, but then what are you doing?
Right. What's the fun in that?
No, there's no fun. Two more. EA's WRC. It's the World Rally Championship. These are rally games. EA got the license for the first time this year, and not a perfect game. It's got a lot of screen tearing issues, but I played WRC Generations last year, which is made by a completely different developer, and this one is better in many ways to that game. I love rally games just because they're kind of like the fighting games of driving. Like it's all about like speed and like managing your speed and how you take corners, and like a small mistake can fuck you up. And anyway, on my screen it looks like you're frozen. Are you frozen? No, you're
No,
not.
I
You're
just wasn't
you
moving.
you just shut down because I was talking about rally game. You shut down everybody. You look like the screen froze. Okay, I'm almost done. Last one, Asgard's Wrath 2 for the MetaQuest 3. It's the first time I ever played an open world game in VR, and it's surprisingly good. I'm done. You froze on my screen because you shut down. I'm gonna watch the video of this.
So many people are gonna hate your fucking list.
Good.
I can
It's
only
my list, not
imagine.
theirs. I mean, they can go
Exactly.
make their own list.
Exactly.
All right. I'm just going to I'm just going to throw out some bad movies I watched, and you could just comment on them. I think the worst movie I watched this whole year was 65 with Adam Driver. That movie sucked ass, dude.
It was definitely not good.
Oh, it
I
was
don't
unwatchable.
I've watched so much garbage, dude. I don't know that I can put that in my say top 5 or 10 worst movies of the year, but it was definitely not good.
Why it's so memorable to me is because one, half the movie takes place at night, so you can't see a goddamn thing because of the way that they they like color timed it. And also, it's a dinosaur movie, but it is the most boring ass dinosaur movie there's ever been.
Oh yeah.
Nothing happens in that movie. It is
Mm-mm.
so. It is a bad movie. It's stupid as fuck. I love Adam Driver, but man, that movie sucked ass.
So
Um,
is this a top 10 list or is this just
no,
some
I
bad
just
movies?
no,
Okay.
it's just bad movies. But that one just I circled it many times on my notepad because I hated it so much.
So for me, a bad movie that definitely came through where also nothing happens is uh what's that? Leave the World Behind.
Okay,
That like
tell me.
Obama's movie or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
it
know
was on
what?
Netflix.
My
They
friend
like
told me
helped
about this the
produce
other
it
day.
and like um they made some of the edits to the script and like stuff like that. So like if you're
uh,
going to the Obamas to edit your script already, you're gonna have issues. But literally nothing fucking happens in this movie.
great.
Like nothing happens at all through the whole movie. Like there's some events that happen, but like nothing happens.
My friend told me that they had a producing credit, and I said, "Well, they have
Yeah.
a deal with Netflix, so they probably just slapped their name on it." I didn't know they actually got involved with like shit
Oh
they shouldn't have
yeah.
been involved
Oh yeah.
with.
They made some edits to the script apparently.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I love when presidents make movies. Full fuck that movie. Uh I put Transformers on here, Rise of the Beasts.
You, the Transformers aficionado, said
As
that
an
Transformers
aficionado,
didn't have a good movie. I
there
mean,
hasn't
you've watched the Transformers movie from 1986 literally 800 times.
yeah, it's one of my favorite movies ever made.
I don't know if
The
it was
new
1986.
it
Did
was
I
you're
nail
right.
that?
Yeah,
Oh
you
shit, I
were.
was. Wow.
No, that's like the only good Transformers movie. The rest of them are garbage. And this one is worse than all of them. Somehow this movie is worse than all of the Michael Bay Transformers movies.
That's a
It
shame
is
too. Beast Wars was very underrated as far as like the cartoon aspect of Transformers go. Like when we were kids, Beast Wars was very much a good part. I thought as a kid, like I enjoyed it. So when I saw that Transformers was coming out, and I have not seen it because ever since the first Transformers movie came out with Shia LaBeouf, I was like, these movies fucking suck. So I haven't
they're
watched any of them.
garbage. They're all
Uh,
terrible.
it was on my list of stuff to watch, but I just haven't gotten to it because of so many other things. So I just, yeah, I
As
can
a
only
fan of
imagine.
Beast Wars, I was like especially perturbed because I think there's only like two or three animal robots in the movie. The rest of them are all just like the regular cars and shit. And what the fuck are you guys doing with what is this shit? And like there's like I don't even remember the plot of the movie now. I think there's like a kid becomes a transformer at some point or something or whatever. But like there's that stupid ape robot and the stupid cat robot, and then that's like kind of it. And then
Okay.
they also bring in like stuff from the movie, the '86 movie, but they can't do that right either
So
because
if we're talking bad animal movies, I'm going to submit Slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse for me.
oh
I will
god.
throw that in there. It is a Hulu original, and bravo. It truly was original. It just sucked ass. Like it's about a murderous sloth. I mean, you can kind of end the conversation there. He's like going through this like sorority house, killing people and shit. It was pretty fucking stupid, and it was very much like a puppet or animatronic like sloth. Just horrible, horrible movie.
Thank you for the warning. Got another one here that you will have a lot to say, I'm sure. No Hard Feelings, which I think is like
Oof.
half of that movie is probably pretty good, and then it sucks ass. I don't know why people love this movie so much. Like the end, like the last third of this movie is an absolute slog. It is so stupid.
It it really, quite honestly, wasn't even funny. So it was supposed to be a
It
comedy
wasn't
movie,
funny
and
either.
I typically like Jennifer Lawrence in some of the movies she does. She's way better than this fucking movie. Um, the premise of it was fucking stupid to begin with.
Well, her parents hire her to like get their son like out of his comfort zone, and then
Right.
she like
She does it because
uh
she needs a car so she can start Ubering to earn money. Like,
and it's got
again,
Matthew Broderick in it, who actually killed 2 women in a car in the '80s. So there's that. Did you know Matthew
we'll
Broderick
leave it up
killed
there.
2 women?
We'll leave it at that. Um,
No, this movie
so
sucked.
I'm gonna go and throw out the movie Snow Falls. A
Oh, I'm so
thousand
glad you
percent
brought
the
this
worst
up.
movie of the
I
year.
didn't watch this because it. Go ahead, just
Talk
talk about it.
about nothing happening.
Oh, it's such a boring
People
ass
die, like
premise.
people die in it, but ultimately these kids are like locked in this house with it snowing, and
Yeah, there's
within
like
the
a foot
span
of
of
snow.
like 3 days, um,
They
they
kill each
they
other.
start like killing each other because they're running out of food or it's too cold, and they make the movie seem like it's this um overbearing cold that is like will freeze you if you are like outside. Like they make it seem like it's almost like a monster cold or something. I
But
don't
it's
know.
like 6 inches of snow, and
Yeah,
like they're in the house for like in the span of like 24 hours, they've already like lost their fucking minds and are starving. It's like
right.
it's been 12 hours. What are you talking about?
It's just like instead of breaking up the furniture to make fire because they're out of wood, they just start killing each other because they're
It's
cold. Um,
so
it
stupid.
and then there's like two of them left and they get saved. Like it was just one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever experienced in my life.
Did you watch When Evil Lurks?
Yes.
I have that on here because I thought that movie was incomprehensible and so stupid. And I part of it, I think, is that I'm not from that country, so I don't have that the phrase they call it like the sickness, or they're referring to it as like the possession or something. And I'm like, is this like they tell kids this story or something? Like it seems like a old nursery rhyme.
I think you're dumb. Uh, that movie was fantastic.
Okay, well, it wasn't
It,
fantastic. I'm glad we could
it
disagree
it
on
is
this.
it is not in my top 10. I don't believe I'm gonna go through and reconfigure like my top 10 and look at everything. So it was not in my top 10, but it was pretty fucking good. It's all in Spanish or whatever, so you gotta watch it with subtitles. But ultimately, people were possessed, and some of them start to like rot and get like really gross. And they
No, there
start to
was
like
a guy who was
smell.
possessed, but they broke the rules of possession, which is like you're not supposed to move the possessed body.
Well, you're not supposed to kill them,
You're not
because
supposed to
then
move them.
well,
That's what happened is they moved them.
you're not no moving him was fine. What they were trying
No,
to
it
do,
wasn't, Brad. That's why the whole shit
Aaron,
started. They threw
no,
him in the back of the pickup truck, and that's when everybody lost their minds.
no, that's not necessarily true
Okay,
because
you didn't watch the same movie I did.
eventually like there's a possession of like a goat, and then they kill the goat,
Because
and if you say so. But anyway, I personally
it's
thought that
not my
movie
rules.
was
This is why I thought
actually
the movie
pretty
sucked.
good. I actually
All
thought it
right,
was pretty good.
all right.
Some of the like kills are pretty cool. Um, in one part, like when the dog like grabs the little girl's face and like
Oh, I
starts.
love that. I was like, oh shit.
Because I was like, oh no, no way, no way, because nobody shows violence against children in movies, like
No,
nobody, and
and
this
nobody
did, but they
and
did it without
Pitbull's.
blood, which was like very much I think how they got away with it. There was no
Well, I
blood.
liked that it was a pit bull because pit bulls are evil and they shouldn't exist, and you can't trust them. And it was like a pit bull that attacked that girl, which made total sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to agree on that point. At
No, we're
all
not going to agree on this
on pit
movie.
bulls. But I did like this movie. Again, not in my top 15 or whatever we're doing. But
Okay,
I did
I'm glad we
enjoy it.
disagreed because it was definitely on my list of movies I hated the most this year.
So okay, my turn. Fear, a movie called Fear. Uh, it was just awful, just awful. Again, one of these things like nothing really happens. Um, I recognized one of the actors in it because he was in Ozarks, which I
well,
enjoyed. Um, but this movie, uh, crap. Don't watch it. You're welcome. I watched
thank
it so you don't
you.
have to. So, Fear. Yes, that's mine.
Okay, this might be controversial. This one I'll actually allow for you to disagree with me on. I put No One Will Save You, which was that alien home invasion movie. My biggest issue with this movie was two things. One, there was no logic to the alien design, and two, the audio drove me fucking nuts because there's no dialogue in the movie. So the only way you can express emotion is for her to go, "Ah, ah, ah." And so it's just like the first 30 minutes is just like her audibly doing that. And when people do that in real life, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. And I just fucking hated it.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you on that one. No dissension here. I did not particularly care for that movie, although I know
The
people
premise is
who
really
I know
cool
people
though.
who actually liked it.
People who said the ending was crazy too. They're like, that's the craziest ending. I was like, by the end, I was like, that's your
Actually,
crazy
that's a
ending?
pretty cookie cutter ending in my
Yeah, it's a
opinion
very cookie
for
cutter ending.
like for those kinds of movies. The no dialogue thing doesn't bother me. It's not the first no dialogue or low dialogue movie that I've seen,
I don't even mind
or
that at
even that I've
all.
watched this year. Um, but it just did not do it for me. The girl who was in it was the youngest daughter in a show called Last Man Standing, which was a sitcom with Tim Allen, um, where it was like kind of home improvement, but he had three daughters instead of sons. Um, that, you know, kind of sparked my interest a little bit, but the movie as a whole was just not great.
But a really cool premise that somebody who actually has talent could probably pull off.
Correct. My
Um,
turn.
Go ahead.
Blue Beetle. I turned this shit off. I turned it off. I didn't even make it to the 20-minute mark. Definitely didn't make it to 30 minutes for sure. It was just terrible. Terrible. I can't stand the one fucking comedian that's in it.
Oh,
He played like an uncle or something.
Garcia.
Yeah, and he was like a conspiracy theorist and like all this other shit, and it just acting was terrible, the premise was terrible, the whole thing was just not good at all. So I'm gonna throw that one in there because it just was pretty shitty.
Actually, you could probably throw every DC movie this year into that pile of fire because they're all probably trash.
Well, sure.
Okay, so here's a movie I didn't finish, and this is look. I watched Barbie, and I liked how it looked visually. I'm not saying it's like the worst thing I've ever seen. It was just very like it was kind of all over the place. I think it was a mess. Like I told you guys, there was a scene where she's out on Venice Beach and there's construction workers and they're catcalling her, and I'm looking at it going, A, why are there construction workers on a beach? That makes no fucking sense. Number two, nobody catcalls anymore because you'll get fucking in trouble for it. And it kind of defeats the purpose they're trying to make. They're trying to say like, oh, look how misogynistic the real world is because they're, catcalling Barbie. When in reality, you can't catcall anybody because the feminists won. The feminists won. The movie pretends like feminism never won, and that it's still a patriarchal society. It's not true. It's you can get in trouble for you can get canceled for a bad night of, let's say, sex or a bad date or any other thing, and I'm supposed to sit here and watch Barbie and go, oh man, they've got it really bad, and it's
Nailed
like,
it.
yeah, and Noah Baumbach is married to Greta Gerwig, and she's the one who's directing it, right? I see his fingerprints all over that movie, and I'm so I'm so like I think they're both just terrible people, and they live in bubbles. This movie is a movie like a liberal bubble movie. Like they think that the world is what that movie depicts. It's not true. It's just not the case. There aren't construction workers on Venice Beach, but they think that there are blue collar construction workers on Venice Beach catcalling women. Like in their world, that makes sense. In the real world, not the case. Actually, we just got through 3 years of COVID, so like I don't, it's just nuts, man. I didn't like it. Will Ferrell's character sucked. They're trying to make him seem like he's a dickhead or whatever, and I'm just like, and also she's cribbing so much from Wes Anderson, and that bothered me a lot too. I think the women who liked the movie, they went to go see with their daughters. It's because there is a mother daughter relationship in that movie. It's all the messaging about uh it's all the overall message of the movie that I didn't like at all. And yeah, I guess I'm one of those misogynistic
That's because
pricks.
yeah, you're definitely a misogynist. So
Yeah, I mean the whole movie's message is flawed, so therefore it ends up on my list. Sorry.
I'm gonna give you this one that I don't think you watched this yet, but this movie, in my opinion, had great potential. Absolutely great potential. Storyline should have been on point, everything. And it's The Last Voyage of Demeter.
I I haven't watched it because you kind of dissuaded me from doing so.
It just was not good at all. No
Which is
redeeming
sad because
qualities about it really at all. And you're right, like what's sad, I mean, the story behind it really was from Dracula, they found a journal and it basically talked about how Dracula got there, via this boat on the Demeter, and they took that and built a whole story from it. And it should have been good. The premise and everything, very solid. But in its actuality, it just bombed for me. I just could not really enjoy it. I actually watched the whole thing hoping there was some kind of redemption, and there just was none whatsoever. It was a tough watch for me.
Okay, well, another one I got written down here is Oppenheimer. It's a movie about okay.
Yeah.
Um, Saw X, just boring, just a boring movie. I watched a movie called Moon Garden. Don't watch Moon Garden. It I thought it was gonna be like a trippy storytelling thing. It's about like a girl who's in a coma, and so she's trying to get out of her coma, and so she's going through like dream world. And I was like, oh, and it wasn't. It was just kind of lame.
I'm going to throw this movie out here to you. One I don't think you watched, and I have definitely qualms with this movie. Oregon Trail, it's called. Organ Trail. So I wrote a movie called The Trail of Fears, which was kind of taking place at the same time, on the Oregon Trail type deal. Um, and mine would have been 1,000 times better than this. I guarantee it. The acting in this was trash. The story was trash. It just did not do anything for me at all. And I gave it high hopes because I was like, I wrote a movie very much like this. I actually still have the fucking script for it somewhere. And mine would have been way better, 100%. I
Bummer.
literally wrote a movie like this. I mean, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that.
Hmm.
Me and
Well,
Pito wrote it. Like we still have the script.
I think I wrote a script I still have somewhere too. I used to write as well. I got two more on this list. One of them is The Creator, which is directed by Gareth Edwards. It's about like
I turned that
AI.
off. Yeah, I
Fuck
turned
man,
that off.
that movie's
It's
fucking terrible.
very much not good. Yeah, I turned that off.
It's just like it was like watching a Neil Blomkamp movie, but like he ripped them off. And then the other movie I have on here is Sanctuary, which a lot of people are liking this year. It's kind of like uh it's got I'm looking for her name really quick.
When did that come out? Was that might have been
That
on my list?
it came out last year, but it
Sanctuary.
was released
Oh,
in
okay.
North America this year.
Gotcha.
So it counts. And it was just kind of like a guy and a girl, and you don't know what their relationship is because they're playing sexual psychological games with each other. It takes place in an apartment. I think a lot of people are like kind of like loving it because it's kind of like different. And to me, it's just the same story we've always had. It's just with millennials.
My last one, I'll throw this one out there. It's called The Devil Conspiracy. Oh boy. Um, what to even say about this movie? I definitely turned this one off because it was that stupid. Like right from the jump, it was that stupid and unwatchable. So I just shut that shit down real fast.
The poster is something else. What the fuck is
Yeah.
going on with this movie?
Yeah, I think what got me is I believe one of the actors in it was in the original Resident Evil movie, like the first one.
Oh
So like,
boy.
yeah, not good. Don't watch it. Or watch it. What do I give a fuck? It was on Hulu. Yeah, I shut that shit off. It was so bad, just so
Yeah,
bad.
Hulu,
I
man.
literally can't even tell you what it was about or what was bad about it because I stopped watching it. And it's that unmemorable for me, but I know for a fact that I tried to watch it.
It has to do with devils apparently, and there's a mention of the Shroud of Turin, so I'm sure it doesn't know what the fuck it's even trying to do. Okay. Um that was our top games and worst movies that we watched. I don't have any other bad movies because if there was a bad movie that I didn't mention, it was probably because it was just so forgettable that I didn't even remember to throw it on here.
I have ones that like weren't great, but they weren't the worst watches. Like Cocaine Bear was like
Like you wouldn't put that on the list because
eh,
it's not
stupid.
a horribly made movie. It just
It was
exists
just
basically.
dumb. And then this movie Sharper that was on Apple TV. It just I don't know, good cast and everything. Storyline was kind of like muddled. Just tough watch in my opinion. It was fine, I guess, as far as movies go. It was like fine.
Yeah,
Uh,
or like The Little Mermaid I saw this year. Like people were like shitting on it. I'm like, it's nothing. It's not neither here nor there. It's they added one more song, but it's like a scene for scene remake from the original cartoon. Like,
I mean, like I didn't
who
even
gives a
get to
fuck?
some of the bigger movies like Indiana Jones. Like I didn't even get to
I'm
watch
not
that
gonna
this
watch
year.
that.
I've heard it was awful.
Yeah,
My
I'm not
wife like
wasting my
loves
time.
Indiana Jones, but she even heard it was like really bad, so she's not in a rush to watch it. Um, that some of the bigger movies even I had not had time to watch yet.
Pretty much anything that Disney put out this year was like probably bad, and I'm not gonna watch any of it.
100%. Like, well, I'm
Uh,
surprised Consecration wasn't on your list because I was gonna watch that, and you were like, "Please don't."
Consecration.
Yeah, it's a movie you told me that you watched, and you said it was that bad.
Oh, this fucking movie. Yeah, this movie sucked. Yeah, this movie was bad. Like I said, if it was bad and I didn't bring it up, it's because I just completely forgot about it. Um, I don't know, like The Nun 2 was kind of lame. It was fine, I guess, but meh.
Yeah, that was lame.
There's just a lot of like and you and I both watched a lot of movies this year,
A lot of
and
lame fucking movies too.
yeah, I managed to dodge a few bullets. Like I'm not gonna watch Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones, and I'm not gonna do that to myself. I don't need
Well,
to do that to myself.
the nice thing about what me and Aaron do is we save each other from watching really dog shit movies too. As much garbage as we do watch, like I stopped you from watching Snowfalls, which was imperative to like saving your life, basically, because you would have wanted
Yeah.
to end it after watching it. Like, but I will say, it wasn't bad enough that I turned it off, like some of these other movies that I've seen too.
It
Like,
looked like it was pretty well
I
made.
actually watched the whole thing.
It has lighting. There's cinematography in that movie.
They did a thing.
Yeah.
They did a thing. Not well, but they did a thing.
I'm so fucking excited to talk to you about the best our movies, the
I
ones we
know.
liked.
I actually think our list this year will differ maybe a little bit more than it did last year.
I guarantee it. Yeah,
I truly do
guarantee
think
it.
that.
I know of probably 2 movies that we both have on our list, maybe 3 because I just know that you're gonna have it. I know you will, but
Well, and we're gonna have like obviously there's gonna be some movies from a nostalgic standpoint on my list versus your list, so it's not gonna crack your list because of that.
yeah, and there's gonna be stuff on my list that let's say is of the animated variety that you won't ever watch.
Dude, part of my problem really is like I don't know if I can rank them 1 to 15.
I can do it.
I think that's going to be my issue is because like I have to go back and re-look at these, but I don't know that I can rank them from 1 to 15. Like I might just be putting out my 15 best movies of the year as opposed to like this was my number 1 absolute movie of the year.
Okay, I'm gonna rank mine. I'll allow you not to do that if you don't want to.
I'm gonna try. Okay, I'm
But
gonna
I think you
try.
should try.
I'm definitely gonna try. But no promises.
I mean, if Bo Was Afraid isn't in your top 5, I'm previews.
No more previews.
I'm very excited. I've got like 25 movies here, and I'm excited just for the ones that we don't have on our list that we just honorable mentions. I think you and I are gonna have some. There's just some good shit in here. Okay, so we've been going for a little bit, and I have nothing else to add. You want to just call it here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to our first episode next year.
Okay. I love you. Bye.
Love you too, buddy. See ya.